Hello. I recently created a new free resource on acuprosper.com, which is a free course all about hiring associates because this is a question I get asked really, really frequently. So in that course, we talk about why, when, and how to hire associates. But I thought that I would make the first part of that available in podcast form because that just helps get this information out to even more acupuncturists who may need it. So we are going to talk about in this podcast why and when to hire associates. So why it can be beneficial to hire associates and when to know it's time to hire an associate. And so if you want to learn the how to go about hiring an associate, then log into courses.acuprosper.com and check out the course. I made it a course because I wanted to make a couple things downloadable files for you, such as an example of the contract that I have my associates sign in case that's helpful for you. And putting it in course format is just the easiest way for me to figure out how to deliver that information to you and things that you can actually download versus a podcast that you can listen to. So I'm making the first part of this course available via podcast, which is why to hire associates and when to hire associates. Check out the course if you want to know how. And my book, Acupuncturists Mean Business, is coming out on February 7th. I have the release date. I'm so excited about it. So I will keep you posted. Make sure you're on my email list to be notified when pre-orders are available and when the book is available. All right, so without further ado, let's dive in. Hello and welcome. I'm glad you're here. This course is going to go over all the things you need to know about hiring associates. This is something I get asked about really often, and so I'm going to create this resource for you guys and hope that it's really helpful for you. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. So first, let's talk about why. In this course, I'm going to talk about why, when, and how to hire associates for your acupuncture clinic. First, let's talk about why. So there are 4 real great reasons to bring associates on into your clinic. Number 1, freedom. Having associates on staff allows you to travel, to take a maternity leave, to work less while still serving your patients, serving your community, and while still earning an income. So that's a huge reason. That's a big reason why I hired associates is I wanted to take a month-long vacation. A month-long honeymoon. We went to Japan on our honeymoon. And then I knew I wanted to get pregnant and have a baby and have a long 4-month maternity leave and then come back to work not full-time. So hiring associates made so much sense for me and it gave me so much freedom. And now I still don't see patients 5 days a week, but my clinic is open 6 days a week. And even when I'm not there, even when I'm home hanging out with my baby or working on writing my book or running my online courses, my clinic is still serving patients and making money. So that feels so good. So the first one is freedom. The second reason is income. We have a limit to how many hours we can work. You can't work, every day of the week, but you can still earn money off of the brand and business that you've built by having someone else do the work for you. The profit potential for hiring an associate is much higher than if you just rent out a room to someone. Your rent will just go for the going price in your area, right? Like $600 or $800. But if you are feeding an associate 30, 40 plus patients a week, your profit potential is a lot higher than that. It also creates a lot more consistency. Hiring an associate allows you to have a more streamlined, consistent experience for your patients that you send to that person rather than if they were just renting for you. Because if they're renting from you, then they have their own separate business, scheduling system, payment system. But if they're part of your business as an associate, that's all streamlined, that's all consistent, and it just raises your professionalism. And I think it's more convenient for the patients and less confusing for the patients. So there's better income and profit potential also to hiring someone on rather than renting to somebody. And like I said, we have a limit to how many hours we can work. Okay, reason number 3 is giving back. It's a great way to support other acupuncturists who are great healers, but maybe don't want to start a business of their own or haven't been able to grow their business in a way that will allow them to like work as much as they want to work and make as much money as they want to make. So it's a great way to give back and grow our profession and support other acupuncturists by creating employment opportunities for other acupuncturists. That's something that feels really good to me. And fourth, you get to capitalize on what you've created. So the beautiful space that you've made, the brand and marketing and reputation that you've built, and the systems that you've developed to make your business run smoothly. You've worked hard to create all of those things, and you deserve to capitalize that by bringing someone else in to serve even more patients, to grow your income. And without you having to do all that work, you can still benefit from all those systems and marketing and brand that you've created. So just to review, the 4 great reasons to hire an associate are freedom, income, giving back, and capitalize on what you've created. Now, I also want to talk about a couple downsides to hiring associates. You are increasing your responsibility and your risk. So in my experience, I feel responsible for my associates' happiness, and I want them to be busy. I want them to be fulfilled. I want them to love working for me. So in the beginning, when you first hire on your associates, you have to build their practice for them, and it can feel funny in the beginning. For example, like if you're like, oh my gosh, this person's going to come into my office today and they only have like 1 or 2 people scheduled, and I feel guilty and bad about that before it takes a few weeks or a few months to get them filled up and busy. And so I feel a sense of like responsibility, and it's also just you're increasing what you have to manage and people you have to care about and think about. So that it's not a big thing, but it's still worth really being said. And you're also increasing your risk. You are taking on the liability of having someone else in your practice. And while they are going to have their own professional liability malpractice insurance to protect them, in America, anybody can sue anybody, and you can get into a lawsuit that isn't even, really related to you. But if somebody wanted to, they could come after you for something that one of your associates did. God forbid. That doesn't happen. So if something went wrong, that's a risk and a liability that you're increasing. So those are 2 things I think about a lot. Like, you have to make sure it's really worth it to increase your risk and increase your responsibility for, I'm a people pleaser. I want people to be happy. So it's just worth noting those things. I personally feel like the positives really outweigh the downsides, but I feel it's important to mention those downsides and remember to make sure that it's really worth it and beneficial for you when you're weighing those pros versus cons of hiring an associate. And it's also, we're going to talk about this later, but you want to make sure that it's really worth it for you when you're deciding what you pay your associates. You need to be really aware of not only your costs and the profit, the amount of profit you'll be making off of those people, but don't forget to incorporate that to consider that you're increasing your responsibility, what you have to manage, and your liability as well. So I just want to make note of that. So, I think there's a lot of great reasons though to hire associates, and I'm so glad I did. One of the best things I ever did, and I love my associates and I love my team, and I love knowing that my patients are in really great hands, even when I can't be there, and I get to live my life that I want to live with my family and the other projects that I want to create. So that's the why. Next, we will get into when to hire associates. How do you know when it's time? Okay, so now let's talk about when to hire associates. How you know that it's the right time. Because something you have to weigh is if you hire an associate on staff, but your personal schedule isn't yet as full as you want it to be, then you could be losing money by sending patients to another person for whom, when they see patients, you only get a small fraction of that income coming in, right? So you don't necessarily want to hire someone on too soon and cut into building your own practice. So it's this fine kind of line that you want to balance. So there's no one exact moment to hire an associate, but there are several factors to consider that can be signs that it's the right time. So, number one, if you are approaching having more demand than you can meet with your own time and hours that are available to work. So, I think you've waited too long if you already can't meet demand, right? And you're like, ah, and then it's almost like too late if you're missing out on business and being able to serve people when they need you. If you have to, create a wait list, go about trying to hire somebody, getting them trained before you can serve that demand. So I think the right time is right as you're approaching that moment. As you see it approaching, like your schedule is like 80% full or something like that. Then you might start thinking, I need to start looking for somebody to hire. And also part of that is that if you see that you have a consistent flow of patients in the door and you know what to expect in your ability to build someone else's patient load. You want to hire someone on and know, yeah, I get about 5 or 6 new patients a week, and I know that I can feed those directly to my new associate and get them pretty full pretty fast, right? Within a couple months, they could have a pretty full schedule because I know what to expect and have a consistent inflow of patients, fairly consistent. So that's another thing that really helps you know that it can be the right time, that you're approaching having more demand than you can meet and you have a steady inflow of patients in the door. It can just be stressful if you don't have a steady inflow of patients in the door. You get someone in and hired and then you're like, sorry, you're not busy, and you're coming in to you're driving all the way to my office to see like 1 or 2 patients a day. That just kind of is a drag and kind of sucks. So it's really nice if you can get them in and then get them busy. Yeah. And so marketing really helps with that. If you haven't taken my marketing course, definitely go sign up for that because you want to know how to attract a steady stream of patients to your business. And you want to do it without having to spend a lot of money on advertising to do that, because that really can cut into your profits, especially as you hire associates and are only making a fraction of that revenue that comes in, right? Okay. Which is what I love to do with set it and forget it marketing that I teach. Okay. The other thing to think about is if you have available time or space in your clinic that's being underutilized. So you might decide, well, I only want to work 2 or 3 days a week. So even if you're not at 80% capacity, you're not that busy maybe, but still you're like, but maybe more patients would book if there was more days available at more convenient times that you're not willing to work. Maybe it would still be worth it for you to hire someone on just to almost provide better service to your patients and potential patients, that more convenient hours, more available hours might be another way to grow your business, even if you are not yet at approaching full capacity. Yeah. And then definitely, it's time if you have a wait list for coming to see you, or if you're unable to get people in at the times that they'd like to come in. So let's say you're at 80% capacity, but like your evening times from like 4 to 6:30 are like booked out for weeks, right? Maybe that, even though you have time at like 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. or something like that, if you see that your patients, like a lot of patients can't get in to see you at the times that work for them, it might be time to hire an associate who can work different days of the week than you at those times, and you can add that service and convenience to your patients and potential patients by hiring an associate on to offer those hours. Yeah. And if you're planning on going on a big vacation or maternity leave or pulling back your hours at work, then this is a great time to hire an associate, even if you are, not at full capacity. It's just a way for you to continue providing consistent quality care to your patients without you having to be there. And that is a great opportunity for hiring an associate. So I think that those are how you know when it's time. And as you can see, for some of them, there's a little leap that you have to take. You could just wait till you're like full and have a wait list and you're like very clearly, I need to hire an associate, but then it can feel stressful. Like, I've got to find someone right now because people want to get in and I can't meet their demand. And so you don't want to be in that position where you feel like you just have to hire anybody who's willing to come work for you. You want to be able to like hire the really right person for your team, which we're going to talk about later how to do. But I think it's the better time to hire an associate before you get to the like wait list completely booked, not accepting any new patients point. It's better to do it when you're like at 80% capacity, when you can foresee that soon you will be at that place and you should go ahead and hire an associate without stress, being able to be your like best, highest self, getting the right person in and trained up so that when you do reach that point of being at really max capacity personally, you can funnel all your new patients over to that person. And I recommend doing this before you go on maternity leave or go on vacation so that you are there and get them trained up patients for a month or two at least before you like completely leave the country or go on maternity leave so that you can hold their hand and get them trained and mentor them for at least a couple months before you leave them or before you get to that point of like being at really full capacity. So there's a little art and science to this of taking a little leap of like just a little bit before you're ready to do it. Does that make sense? So right before you foresee needing it, that's the time to like take that leap, ask yourself to grow. Yeah. Okay. Next, we will talk about how to go about hiring associates. See you then.